Martha Skye Murphy, album review, let's chat about it. Hey friends, what's going on? John here from What's Spinning here tonight to chat about this technical debut album from Martha Skye Murphy, singer-songwriter out of South London. She's been at it for a few years now, and I've thought that her approach to the sort of gloomier side of art pop has been really interesting lately, especially with the singles that she's been dropping leading up to this debut album. And I do say, technical studio debut because she did put out that Yours Truly project a few years ago on her own, and it's got some cool ideas on it. But what mostly really hyped me up for this album from Martha, her full-length debut, were the singles leading up to this thing were really cool, like IRL. Also, she was a part of my favorite single of 2021, that'd be Squid's Narrator, really fantastic post-punk single. Now, like I said, leading up to this thing, I thought the singles that she was putting out were really cool. Let's chat about it. Now, I hear tracks like Pick Yourself Up early on in the album, and God, I feel like everything just comes together on a track like this. I instantly feel like she's the next big thing in chamber pop. The tension in this tightly wound riff just goes wonderfully up against these angelic vocals that are just constantly a really sweet release. It's really a cool dynamic. If you're like a Julia Holter fan, definitely check this out. But let me tell you, this goes a lot deeper than your usual sort of ethereal art pop track. No, this is pretty tense and twisted. But it's pretty interesting, all while remaining very personal. It's a very personal release from Martha. Theme Parks I really love as well. This is actually one of my favorite deep cuts. And in this vein, this sort of very gloomy art pop style, this is one of the tenser tracks that I've heard in a while. The swelling synth and the obtuse horns are really fascinating. The pacing in general on this track is killer. All of this track is just kind of building around Martha's vocals, which makes this really just like this sort of very enchanted, dark tune. I hear tracks like this, and I get really excited for Martha's future. Call Me Back is the kind of risk that I wish we heard a little bit more of here. What even is this? This sounds like we have, as a human race, intercepted an alien transmission and translated it. It's mysterious, it's dense, it's weird, but man, is it cool. Martha's ideas, when they come together on this album, are pretty awesome and ahead of the game. And Kind might be the most breathtakingly beautiful track here. This is a very stripped down, moody, nocturnal ballad that's done almost in the style of like a Marissa Nadler. There's so much restraint shown here. The pacing, once again, my God. The moody guitars, the haunted vocals. This, for me, is the ticket. I also really love the weird, off-kilter, jazzy horns floating through the background. Great touch. This is an awesome deep cut. And that weirdo beat that comes in later in the track. And God, just the shrieking that we get from Martha. Like, why couldn't we get more risks like this? This album as a whole is actually kind of hard for me to rate, because the thing is, when Martha's focused here, she sounds like the next big thing. You know what? Strike that. She sounds like she is already ahead of the game. My issue is consistency, honestly. There's a lot of restraint shown on this album, and I feel like on a handful of tracks it gets a little too subtle. Like First Day, which starts off this album. I just feel like this didn't need to be here. This is a 40-second ambient intro that very easily could have been tacked onto another track. It's cool, it's got some tension, but it doesn't really go anywhere. Need featuring Roy Montgomery? Honestly, I heard this as a single, and this was the one single that I really didn't like, and hearing it on the album, I almost didn't go any further. Martha's music is usually very hushed, very quiet, very intimate. And I will say this, Roy Montgomery's piano playing on this track, it's really elegant and beautiful. But Martha's performance on this track is it's a little too subdued for me. I would have really enjoyed hearing her just get a little weirder or artsier with this track. There are some flashes of weirdo brilliance, but I just need a little something more. A lot of the same feelings on Spray Can. This instrumental, this very synth-driven, very nocturnal Twilight instrumental is one of the coolest ones on this record. Even the production on this track, it sounds so cool. This track is a woozy, psychedelic beast of a track, and Martha kind of sounds bored of it, honestly. Eventually, with the last minute, we kind of get there, but this track's rough to sit through. And I hear the words later on in the album, and I'm just kind of sitting here shrugging. It's got a cool idea or two, but in this 2 minutes, it goes nowhere. These ideas are just kind of sitting around waiting for nothing to happen. So yeah, sadly, this is not the consistent record that I was hoping that Martha would come through with. However, I will give her credit where it's due, because when she focuses, my God, does she sound good. Like Dust Yourself Off. Love this track. And this one did need to grow on me a little bit. It is one of the quietest tracks here, and it's a really quaint, elegant little piano ballad. It's tender, it's really sweet, and honestly, very dark as well. IRL, it was my favorite single leading up to this thing, and I think it's track of the album. The pacing here is immaculate. These pianos are eerie as hell, and Martha's performance on this track is one of her most in-your-face performances here. It's formless, it's personal, it's got a ton of replay value as well. And not for nothing, it comes off like a mission statement for this album. And Forgive, featuring Claire Rouse, is actually a pretty cool finale. It definitely goes much more into the ambient direction. And this is very much Martha's attempt as a sort of bluesy, rainy day track. And the fact that this is, a track that outside of some humming doesn't really have any vocals, I think that actually works towards it. Because this is so tragic and dramatic and so final sounding, it's a fantastic finale. Yeah, the material that is good on this album is pretty awesome. She just, needs to clean things up a little bit because a lot of her ideas, when they don't go anywhere, get stale very quick. And these tracks, when they are, extra subtle, they definitely get a little boring and hard to sit through. However, Martha is definitely onto something when she is on here, when she is focused. She sounds completely ahead of the pack. She sounds like someone who is just ready to break out. She's got a hell of a sound. I just hope she cleans it up just a little bit. For now, I am feeling a very light 7 on this album, but let me know what you all think down below. If you liked the video, be sure to give us a like, give us a subscribe, and let me know down below what you would like for me to chat about in the future. And until next time, have a great day, friends.